Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us for another story here at Diane Narrates. The title for this one goes like this. Mom who left me for a new family suddenly wants to connect 20 years later, and I'm wondering why. One call from dad's lawyer, and I immediately went no contact with her again. Me, 32 female, and my dad, 61 male, have been on our own for a pretty long time. My dad was a single father, and my mom, 60 female, left us when I was 12 years old. For context, my biological mother and my dad got divorced, and I think the reason is important to this post. If you can't tell, I'm not at all close to my mom, and I'm going to call her Diane for this post, and that's her name, because she hasn't really been my mom in years. So both my parents worked. My dad is an engineer, and my mom was in finance. They both made a pretty good amount, so I was lucky enough to not really miss anything. However, neither was really home much. My dad worked really long shifts and was out of town a lot, but at least when he was home, he would talk to me and play with me. My mom, on the other hand, stayed out of the house as much as she could. I'm not sure why, but she gave me the impression that she never really liked me. She would go out for drinks with her friends and coworkers after work, and I would have to make dinner for myself and make sure I did my homework on my own. When she was home, she never played with me or anything, and I felt like I was annoying her by talking to her at all. Fast forward to 6th grade, Dad and Diane started arguing a lot, and I would usually ignore it and stay in my room. Dad fought about her not treating me right or trying to hang out with me, while Diane complained that Dad was being a controlling jerk and that she was my mom, not my friend. They fought about other stuff too, where Diane was out so late every night, and why she needed to go for drinks every single day. Diane complained that Dad went out of town too much for his work, and she wanted to have fun too. Dad was not having fun, he was genuinely working. Anyway, this was what went on in my house almost every week from around 4th grade to 6th grade. Eventually I stopped trying to talk to Diane too. Now, in 6th grade, I was in a bunch of clubs. Drama club, baking club, and soccer. So I would be home pretty late myself. Only around 5 p.m. most days. I still remember this day like it was yesterday. It was just after winter break ended in 6th grade, and I was supposed to have baking club after school that Tuesday. I wasn't feeling well enough though, and decided to go home halfway through. So I ended up reaching home at around 4 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. I unlocked my door, and directly in front of me, on the couch, was my mom and some other guy. They were cuddling and kissing, and I might have been young, but I knew something here was very wrong. Diane literally looked like a deer in headlights, and the other guy, let's call him Bob, 63 male, just looked embarrassed. My mom tried to speak to me, but I just ran upstairs to my room and locked myself in again. I was furious about what she was doing to my dad and to our family, and while I didn't want to break my dad's heart even more, I decided it was better that he knew. I called him up about half an hour after the whole thing, crying on the phone for him to cut his trip short and come home as soon as he could. He seemed alarmed to hear me so hysterical on the phone, and I think he realized this was a big deal because of that. I ended up not going to school the next day, and Dad came home early Friday morning. I ran out to meet him and started crying again. While he tried to calm me down and ask what happened, Diane came out of their room around that, which absolutely disgusted me, even at the age of 11, and just looked at Dad. Dad asked her why I was crying the way I was, and she had the audacity to lie and say I was being hysterical just because I saw her having drinks with a coworker and that I was probably just unwell or lashing out because of something at school. I won't lie, I wanted to hit her then, but I turned to my dad and told him everything from the beginning. Pretty much what I've written here. Diane and Dad went into their room to talk, and I'm not sure what they were speaking about, but there was some fighting. Turns out, Dad was already talking to a lawyer about divorce and stuff, and found proof that my mom was having an affair on her phone and stuff. The guy she was seeing didn't have a wife or kids of his own. Bob, the guy I found on my couch. Long story short, they had a pretty fast divorce because mom wanted to be with Bob, and my dad got majority custody of me, and I was supposed to be with my mom on weekends. She never really cared to see me though, so I stopped going by the middle of 7th grade. Diane never called or texted, never made an effort to see me, and didn't even reach out for birthdays and holidays. I eventually decided I wanted nothing to do with her either, and so for the last 20 years, we have literally had no contact. She ended up marrying Bob about a year after the divorce, and now they have 2 kids. We still follow each other on social media, and that's how I know nothing about her at all. I think I'm mostly over all the abandonment issues, even though at first I was super jealous about how much more involved with her new kids as opposed to me. Fast forward to last week, out of the blue, I got a message on Facebook from my mom, and I'm just going to copy and paste it here. It went, "Hi OP, it's been a while. I know things have not been the best between us, and I'm sorry about how we left off. I would love to reconnect with you though. Maybe we can catch up over coffee this week. Let me know. XX, Mom." Personally, I think this is an absolutely absurd thing to text to your no-contact child after 20 years of nothing. It also greatly pissed me off that she referred to herself as my mom, because she's the farthest thing from a mother to me. That being said, I will admit I was kind of curious to see where this was going, so I asked her what was up and why she was reaching out. She told me she just missed me and wanted to work on our relationship. Now, I didn't fully believe this, nor was I particularly interested in rekindling any sort of relationship with her. I was super curious about what she was going to say though, so against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. We met at a local coffee shop in our city, and she was already there when I reached. I said, "Hi Diane," when I reached. I was feeling petty, and she seemed a little taken aback by it. She tried to hug me, but I politely declined, and we sat down and started talking. It was super awkward at first, and we started with small talk about the weather and work and stuff. After about half an hour of very awkward conversation, I asked her why she wanted to see me here, because there was no way she randomly messaged me out of nowhere after 20 years. I could tell then that there was more to her visit than just wanting to reconnect with her daughter, and I was right. Diane looked like she was going to cry, and started talking about her kids. She has two, a boy 14 male, and a girl 11 female. For their privacy, because they're innocent and have nothing to do with this, I'm going to call them Jake and Morgan. Diane started telling me how they're such gifted children and how they were eligible to join a very elite private school in the city. But she and Bob couldn't afford to pay for them. It clicked in my head then that all this woman wanted was money from me, and while I wasn't surprised, I did find it hilarious that she couldn't even pretend to want to see me for more than like half an hour. I started laughing then, and her crocodile tears stopped like instantly. She looked shocked that I could laugh about something like this, and I told her that I thought that we were done here and left. So for context, I work in engineering like my dad, and I have a pretty well-paying job. I am lucky enough to also have my own house and enough money to travel a lot. I'm not married or anything, nor do I have kids, so this gives me a lot of freedom and extra fun money. I post about the places I go sometimes, so I'm sure she knows I have some spare income. I also spoil my dad whenever I can, and I guess Diane thought she could just come and beg me for money. As expected, I got countless messages on Facebook from her and her ward husband, telling me I'm cruel, heartless, and immature, and that I don't care about my younger siblings. I actually laughed out loud at that one. I've never even met them, and didn't even know how old they were until I met Diane this week. This was until yesterday, when I told my dad about everything, and he told me meeting her at all was a bad idea. I guess he told his lawyer, who's a good family friend by now, because got a call from him about a half an hour after leaving my dad's place. It turns out, a distant aunt of mine on my dad's side had recently passed away and left my dad with a huge inheritance. Think more than 7 figures, and dad and his lawyer were managing the estate and all the legal stuff that goes with it. I'm not sure how, but mom found out about it and figured that I would be getting something too, and would just give her money if she played the pity card with me. I'm sure dad would give me something eventually, but to be honest, I don't need it. If I did get anything, you can bet I wouldn't be giving a cent to Diane or her home-wrecking husband. Anyway, she had tried to get some piece of it from dad, and his lawyers got involved. He didn't tell me about it because it wasn't really that big of a deal. They've been divorced for ages, and there's no way she would have any claim over it. She thought she could weasel some out of me, and that's why she probably wanted to meet. I had to admit, I was kind of hurt. Some small part of me wanted to believe that maybe my mother would want to apologize for the stuff she put me through, or even acknowledge it. I was hoping she'd had some come-to-faith moment and decided to fix her mistakes, but I was wrong. Diane was Diane as always. I got pretty angry and frustrated at this. It felt like my inner child was hurt and abandoned all over again. I texted her a long, kind of nasty message on Facebook and then blocked her and Bob. and I'm planning to go no contact again. I am feeling kind of guilty though. Those kids are innocent, and inheritance or not, I do have the money to sponsor them. I also think I was pretty harsh with the things I wrote, and I want to know if I'm just overthinking this. Please help. Holy, I was not expecting the amount of responses I got on here. I literally put my phone down before I went to bed and woke up to see this has blown up way more than I ever thought it would. First things first, I'm going to clear some stuff up. I do not live with my dad anymore. I have my own house, and he has his, my childhood home. As I said, we live in a pretty big city in the States, so my house is like a 20-minute drive away from his. Diane also lives in the same city as us still, but she lives on the opposite side, like a 30 or 40-minute drive away from both of us. Our city has a lot of very elite private schools, and they can be pretty expensive and difficult to get into. So now that it's morning, I am starting to feel a little ashamed of what I texted Diane last night. Sure, she was an absolutely terrible mother and a person all around, but I didn't want to stoop down to her level. For those of you asking what I messaged her, I will humor you, only for being so kind and supportive here, and copy-paste what I wrote. Hi Diane. To start off, I thought you might actually want to reach out to me to apologize for the way you treated me my whole childhood, or for abandoning dad and me when I was literally younger than your son is right now, or for messing up our house by being a cheating piece of garbage. I expected too much of you though, because of course you only want my money and inheritance from dad's side of the family. The audacity you have never ceases to amaze me, and I hope you know that everyone thinks you are an absolutely obnoxious abomination of a mother and human being. The gall you have to text the kid you abandoned 20 years down the line to try and get money and support for the family you abandoned her for is actually insane to me. I doubt any of these words even mean anything to you, because you are the nastiest, most narcissistic person I know, and if I'm being completely honest, my life is so much better without you in it. I hope I never see you again, and do not contact me. Rot in hell. OP. So yeah, pretty nasty message, and not at all how a grown adult should act. I am going to show it to my dad though, and his lawyer just in case. Don't think it should be too much of an issue, but you can never be too careful. And I'm a bit paranoid. That's all for now. I don't think I'm going to have too many updates, but I will post here if I do. I don't think I'm going to have too many updates were really famous last words for me. There is in fact more to update. For starters, I'm glad so many of you found my message to Diane amusing. While my dad did say I should have kept my cool, he ended up laughing at the rotten hell sign off too. So, I'm feeling a little better about it. I am also glad that so many of you found my message entertaining, because looking back, so do I. I also want to thank everyone for the validation and support I've received. Apparently, there are a lot of terrible parents in the world, and my heart goes out to anyone who's dealing with lingering or ongoing issues with their families. I understand how hard of a situation it is to be in, and what kind of long-lasting damage it can do to a person. But I find it heartwarming that so many strangers are willing to reach out and offer kind words. From a legal standpoint, we're good to go. Like I said in my previous post, there really isn't much she can do about us not choosing to give her money. I still am trying to wrap my head around why she thinks that she just can't ask something like that though. Anyway, it's been about a week since my last update, and so much has happened already. I should have known letting Diane back into my life in any way was going to be drama. But hindsight's 20/20, I guess. Not sure how she managed to do this, but she found my phone number and has been calling non-stop for the past week. I didn't know it was her at first, so I picked up the first call. I didn't again though. Since then, I have been bombarded with messages from Bob, her, and a bunch of their random relatives I've never even heard of, both on social media and on my phone number. I've been blocking phone numbers left and right, but they never seem to stop. At this rate, I think I'll just have to change my number altogether. Social media isn't much of an issue, considering I don't use it much anyway. So I was getting calls and messages saying that I'm cruel and selfish, and how could you do this to your own mother, or how could you do this to little children, and my personal favorite, what kind of an older sister wants to see her little siblings fail? More than anything, I am perplexed by these messages. Do they expect me to pay for people I don't even know? You'd think I grew up with these kids, the way Diane and her new family have been attacking and insulting me. I called my dad last night about it, and he didn't really have any advice for me, either except to block them or move on. Because what else can you really do? Also, It's really funny that they think calling me names is going to make me want to give them any amount of money. Anyway, this morning, I decided to call my dad's lawyer. I'm going to call him Robert, because he's practically like an uncle to me now. I told him about everything that was going on, and he told me I should keep a record of everything just in case. He also told me I should just ignore them since legally they can't really do anything about it. And if blocking them will give me peace of mind, then that's what I should do. I think I'll keep screenshots of everything and then block everyone, since this is getting kind of ridiculous. It's been about a month since my last update. I sort of forgot about posting here because things got a little messy in between and I ended up being a little preoccupied. I've got a bunch of messages asking if anything new happened though, and I am here to deliver. So, I'm currently in Italy right now. Florence is lovely this time of year, because after everything, I decided I needed a little me time and some rest and relaxation. About a week after my last update, Diane messaged me again from a new number I guess, and she said a lot of things that kind of got to me. I wasn't able to block her just then, and because I'm petty, I decided to engage with her. She basically texted me to say that she doesn't understand why I hate her so much, and that she's always tried to be kind and give me my space. She also said that despite everything, she was still my mother, and I shouldn't turn my back on family. So basically the cliche BS every toxic family member seems to spew the minute someone doesn't put up with their behavior. She said a few more things about how she didn't speak to me when I was a teenager because I behaved poorly and didn't seem to respect her, and that she was willing to let things go and make up with me now despite all that. Again, I don't know where these people get the audacity, so of course I responded. I'm not going to say word for word what I said because it's super long. I don't want to see our chats again, and I'm trying to relax, but basically it went something like this. I told her that she's not my mother and has never been, and that I guess she forgot the way she behaved with me when I was a child. I also told her that I was still a teenager and a child, and as an adult, it was her responsibility to ensure I was okay and maintain a relationship with her first kid, not mine. I told her I didn't have behavioral issues, but I had a very normal and valid reaction to not only catching my mother cheating with another man, but breaking up and abandoning the family to go be with the guy she cheated with. I told her Bob and her kids were disgusting to me. This might have been too harsh since again, I know those children are innocent, and that she should go ask Bob's family for whatever money she wanted. I let her know she is Diane, not Mom, and for all intents and purposes, she is dead to me now. I didn't get a response really because I blocked her as she was typing. I didn't want to know and didn't care about whatever excuse she was about to give me. Please keep in mind that she never even bothered apologizing this whole time. I also had a feeling that these family members of hers and Bob's didn't know exactly what was going on, because once a liar and a cheater, always a liar and a cheater. I decided to end everyone's confusion once and for all by posting on Facebook for maybe the first time in a year. I let my dad and Robert know what I was going to do, and they gave me the go-ahead. So the same night that Diane texted me her BS, I tapped out everything that had happened since my childhood. I wrote about how she was passive and neglectful, and how I literally caught her cheating when I was younger than her kids are right now. How she never reached out and pretended I was nothing. How I had never even met her kids or knew their names or ages before the past month. How she didn't contact me or my father for the past 20 years, and only did so when she found out about the inheritance and my income. It was pretty long, but I wanted to be thorough, and that's exactly what I was. I made sure to mention that I and this woman no longer have any connection, and to harass a stranger for money was insane behavior, and I will be blocking and reporting anyone who supports them and harasses me further. It was pretty entertaining to see my inbox practically blow up. As it turns out, people didn't know about the cheating, the abandoning, or the reason for asking money. Apparently, most people on Diane's side of the family as well as Bob's thought that they had met after my parents got divorced, and Diane told everyone that it was because my dad was never present and a bad husband. Untrue. They also thought Diane had kept in touch with me throughout the years and invited me to her baby shower and all that, but I had ignored and rejected them. Bob blocked me as soon as he saw the post, I guess, and Diane ended up not reaching out again. The day after the post, I booked and planned a little vacation to Florence as a reward to myself for having to put up with all this for so long. Since then, I haven't been contacted by anyone, and that's how I hope things stay. For those asking questions, a cousin from Diane's side contacted me to tell me what they all had been told about the divorce and remarriage, as well as Diane's side of the story, and how everyone saw the post. No, I was not friends with everyone on Facebook, but my profile was public. I'm sure it spread after the first few people saw it. And that was a wrap up for today's story. Thank you very much for listening. Smash that like button for me and subscribe for more stories. Thanks again, and we'll be seeing you in the next one.